Welcome to another episode of Unraveled. Today we're not going to be looking at any specific rug, but we are going to be taking a look at some of the resources that I used when I was first getting into learning about Oriental rugs, why I like them, why I think they're beneficial, and really how much we can get out of them. Let me start by saying that books can be a good resource. They can be an excellent resource, in fact. But just as in any trade or course, books only end up being part of the equation. In the end, it's really how much time you spend handling, seeing, being with a multitude of different types of Oriental rugs, and rugs in general, that you really begin to learn. So really, it's the books in tandem with working with a lot of rugs that gets you the knowledge that you need to be able to distinguish certain rugs apart from each other, to pinpoint where certain rugs come from, and to tell how old certain rugs are. Again, all that being said, books can be an excellent resource, so let's talk about a few. So the first book we have is Islamic Carpets by Jospeh McMullen. And it's really many pieces from Jospeh McMullen's collection that are on display at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. Now, the reason that books like this, and specifically this book, is so important is because it goes over many examples of earlier carpets. This book helps to indoctrinate you in the basis of design for many rugs that you will come to know. From Persian to Caucasian and Turkish. It has excellent plates or pictures or representations of said rugs in full color, which, that's just a side note, if you're ever looking for a good reference for learning about Oriental rugs for books, colored plates can be some of the most important. Good colored plates, because that will give you an idea of what the true colors of older rugs really look like. Color is paramount in especially aging certain rugs. If you can find the original printing of this book, like this one here, for under $200, you need to buy it. This book, when it was first released, was like $800 or something like that. The original printing is the one that I believe has all the best plate prints, the best colors for reference. And so it takes you through Mamluk rugs, Turkish rugs, Mughal, Persian, traditional Caucasian rugs, and probably the two most important sections are the 19th century Persian rugs and the 19th century Caucasian rugs. They just give a very good overview and very good examples of what to expect when looking at rugs from this time period. So that is Jospeh McMullen's Islamic Carpets. The second book is The Persian Carpet by Cecil Edwards, A. Cecil Edwards. This book doesn't have the best colored plates. This version doesn't, oh, there's one. It's a Tabriz rug. A. Cecil Edwards was, I don't know if it was his company, but he was part of Oriental Carpet Manufacturers, which, if you don't know, was a London-based company that opened up carpet manufactories in Konya, Turkey, and Hamadan, Persia. They would make carpets there using labor from Persia and Turkey and then export them to America and Europe. And this book sort of catalogs his experience from a first-person perspective from the early 20th century and what these carpet manufactories in different parts of specifically Persia looked like, even down to the number of looms in certain villages, talking about the different dyes that were used, the quality of wool, the different designs that were seen in coming out of these villages at this time. And so this book is sort of an invaluable resource for probably the most common types of rugs that you'll ever come across, which is first quarter of the 20th century, early 20th century, circa 1900. Especially if you're picking or hunting in America and Europe. So it just helps to get a more well-rounded view of what to expect when you come across pieces like this. Being able to distinguish the turn of the century, early 20th century pieces from one another is pretty invaluable. The way Edwards writes is very easy to digest. It's a history lesson, it's a practical lesson. The Persian Carpet by A. Cecil Edwards is an excellent resource. Thirdly, in the broader what you should be reading category, Oriental Carpet Design by P.R.J. Ford. This is the first book that I bought when starting to learn about Oriental rugs, and it's because I was very interested in the names of different designs. Obviously, rugs are very visual. We enjoy looking at them, and when we were first learning about rugs, we may be curious about what certain symbols are called, how to distinguish one from the other. And this book gives a very good introduction to those motifs and what their names are. It's a very thorough book when it comes to design, and it's laid out in such a way that it doesn't go over the geographic areas. It's not split up by geographical areas, it's split up by types of design. So for example, bota, herati, tree designs, vase designs, geometric, floral. That's how the book is broken up. And then in each of those sections, it gives examples or talks about examples from different geographical locations of those motifs. This particular copy has some colored plates, some black and white plates. For motifing, it's not really important to have the colored plates. It's just sort of nice visually to be able to see more examples of carpets from different time periods. But if you're interested in design, as so many of us are when it comes to Oriental rugs and learning about the names and how different geographical areas utilize specific designs, this is a very good book for that. Oriental Carpet Design. I have one more broadly helpful book. This is Peter Stone's Oriental Rug Repair. You might not be interested or care about rug repair. You might not ever even do rug repair. I bought this book because I wanted to learn a little bit more about rug repair, but what ended up happening when I read this book is that you learn just a lot more about the structure of rugs. In fact, when you start to do repairs, or if you start to do repairs by yourself, you do end up learning just by association a lot about how the structure of rugs work, and it is fascinating. And this book, although it talks about how to repair certain parts, the vocabulary it uses and how it talks about the structure of rugs is incredibly helpful just in knowing how to talk about rugs. Say, for example, you have a rug that needs a repair. If you take it somewhere to get repaired, you can talk about it in a way that the weaver or the repairer will understand. Or if they're talking about it, you can understand what they're saying when they're going over how they're going to approach a certain repair. There's also a really great section on washing rugs and stain removal, and it goes over different types of stains that you could find on your rug. Aftershave lotion, eyebrow pencil, furniture wax, nose drops, soot, tar, ketchup, mayonnaise. It goes over all of these. It goes over how to care and how to store Oriental rugs. Just a really great resource if you're just going to be generally around rugs. It doesn't go into the nitty-gritty of history or motifs. It's more about living around rugs and how a person can best do that. Those were the big ones that I would recommend to anybody just starting to get into Oriental rugs. Here's the thing about books about Oriental rugs. There are thousands of books about Oriental rugs. And the reason for that is because Oriental rugs can get very specific and granular. And so depending on the type of rug that you want to learn about, there's a book for that. You want to learn about Turkmen rugs, there are books for that. You want to learn about Kurdish rugs, there are books for that. You want to learn about Khorasan Kurdish rugs, there are books for that. You want to learn about Irsari rugs, Irsari Turkmen rugs, there are books for that. There are books for Chinese rugs, there are books for, Southwest Persian, Qashqai, Gamsa rugs. There are books for every single type of Oriental rug out there. So to kind of delineate all of those is a little bit impossible, and it mostly just comes down to what you're interested in learning about. For me personally, I really love Caucasian rugs. Why I like them might be more for another video, but I have 2 books that I wanted to share for those of you who also might have any interest in Caucasian rugs. The first one is also by Peter Stone, the writer of the Oriental Rug Repair book, and it's called Rugs of the Caucasus, Structure and Design. This is an incredibly specific book. There are no plates. There are only, I think it's only just hand illustrations, but it is an invaluable resource for telling apart certain Caucasian rugs. As we've spoken about before, Caucasian rugs can get very, very granular in their definitions and where they come from and which part of the Caucasus they come from and how to tell where it comes from geographically. And this book goes over all of them. There's just a lot in this book. It's very dense, but if you want to know anything about Caucasian rugs with any certainty, this is the right book for you. Finally, when it comes to Caucasian rugs, there's really no other contender for the most important book, the most sought after book, maybe, when it comes to Caucasian rug stuff, than Ulrich Schurmann's Caucasian Rugs. This book has 160, as it says right here on the front, 160 colored plates. These are all, I think they're all, 19th century high quality plates of different Caucasian rugs from every region in the Caucasus that you'll ever come across. This was published in 1964, and I don't think there has yet been a book that has knocked it out of its respected position as the Caucasian Rug Bible. Just a great amount of plates, good examples for you to look at, to learn from. There's not a lot of writing in the book. It is more of a visual experience, although some of these copies do come with maps and charts of different things to look for in different rugs, although I would leave that more up to Peter Stone's book for that analysis. This is just a great visual guide for 19th century Caucasian rugs, and it's one of my favorite books. If you can get this for under $100, get it every time. It's a little bit rare these days, this book. Good to have for the Caucasian rug nerd. So this has been Unraveled, the one where I recommend a bunch of reading material for those wanting to get into Oriental rugs. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.